All right, so we just heard about creating all these new applications and making sure that they are designed pretty well. So I'll be talking about integrating them and making sure they are well adapted with the end users actually using these applications and making sure they are comfortable and useful for them. So I'll start with a brief introduction. Transform Data, we're a partner of Neota, and we are founded and located in Maastricht in 2014. We operate in the what we call the professional service market. So that's typically law firms, accountancy firms, corporate legal departments, insurance, these kind of areas. And we have mixed expertise in-house. So we have business consultants, we have people from information management background, legal tech background, developers, so a broad set of people. And we have two key partners. So for us, we all know what Neota does. So the other partner what we integrate with is Repstor. Repstor is located in Belfast, and we deliver case management solutions with them. So we look at that as the alternative to, for example, iManage or NetDocuments, these kind of platforms. And we do that in Benelux, Nordics, and DACH region. So what we typically know, and probably we have all done IT projects, typically what we see is when we introduce a brand new platform is that some people don't feel comfortable, especially when you introduce it without the proper guidance and the proper training. There are only a few people that probably are very enthusiastic and want to start, but typically people don't like change. So what we see is that it is easier for them to adopt a new system and to get familiar with a new application or a new Neota application, is if you integrate that in the areas that they know how to work with already. So typically what we see in a law firm and professional service industry, first thing that they start in the morning and they close in the evening is Outlook. So we all know how that works. And we have portals. Portals is typically something that has been going on for quite some years now already. So the My portals, the HiQ, the SharePoint kind of portals, the customer portals where you collaborate on documents, where you exchange your information with clients and share documents, basically. The modern variety of portals is now Teams. So some of you might be familiar with that. We see a lot of enterprises or large firms deploying it now company-wide. Basically, for some people look at it as the alternative to Skype. Well, it is in fact more, it's also the alternative to a customer portal or a client portal and really allowing you to engage with your client. So I would like to show you 3 examples of how we integrate these applications in Outlook, in portals, and in Teams. So I'll start with Outlook, and I'll take a risk assessment as an example. So typically when a new case is created in a law firm or in a corporate legal department, there is a risk assessment that they need to do. In a corporate legal department, you might look at that as a privacy impact assessment or something like that. So typically that new case is registered. Either that's done via a connector to a primary system, if you have such an ERP or SAP or something in place, or that is done manually. So this is typically what we do with Repstor, with Custodian for Legal. So you get a questionnaire, you fill in all your information that we want to register about the case, and your case is being created. So at that point, that initiates an email. So we register who is responsible for that case, the legal responsible or the responsible lawyer. And that sends out an email to the responsible person saying, at this point, you need to start doing your risk assessment. So that email contains a button. And if we would normally click that button on a normal email, that would probably start at the browser. What we do is we start it up in a boxed view. So from the Outlook perspective or from the end user perspective, they're not leaving Outlook. They're comfortable in Outlook, and we just show them an application inside Outlook. So we take them through that entire risk assessment in a boxed view, still within Outlook. Optionally, that risk assessment can result in an extra approval step or an extra email to a lead or somebody being responsible for a specific department. And that risk assessment results in a conclusion. Either they can start working on a case and we'll accept it and we'll allow people to start collaborating in that case. Optionally, we could also save off this risk assessment, so that conclusion, that report, off directly into that matter. So people could later on find it back and see what was entered at what point in time, by whom, and ensure that the risk assessment was done correctly. So the next example is the document creation. And that's typically something that we see in corporate legal, but also in law firms. You have a lot of Word documents or kind of templates going on, building blocks to create these documents. And often we see that it's better to do that just by a questionnaire, just to avoid using Word to make errors or actually forget to replace something. So what we do is we, again, integrate that into Outlook. So in the right top corner, you see the document creation area where they just have an additional button to open up the document creator or the whatever Neota application they would like to start. So by doing that, they exchange information directly from the case management system already. So what we see here on the left-hand side is all the dossiers and all the information is displayed inside Outlook. And depending on the position where they are, they exchange information between their leading document management system and the contract generator. So we already know what legal entity, the country, the type of organization, and these kind of things. Basically, all the metadata, all the properties that we have of these matters is what we exchange with that system. So we prompt, again, in a boxed way in the Neota application. We start asking questions. Of course, depending on the answers that the people give, we might merge clauses in or leave clauses out. And optionally, again, an extra approval step if people are about to change a clause that we don't want them to change. And that, again, that document output is then being saved inside their document management system. So because we fully integrate in Outlook that document management system and that environment, including that document that they just created, is directly accessible for them within Outlook. Yeah. So the next thing is servicing your clients, and a client can be an external, but a client can also be your internal legal department, your internal marketing department or sales department if you're an enterprise organization. And you can service your clients via public portals. So what we typically see is we're going to look for highly repeatable type of creation processes like NDA generators is typically something we hear in large organizations that they have a lot. And we look for these kind of high volume requests coming into the legal department, and we automate these in applications. So these applications, they can be integrated in a portal, a HiQ portal, a SharePoint portal, and you just expose your knowledge. So instead of sharing that Word document and saying, this is your NDA template, go create them in Word, we give them an instrument, we give them an app. That app is available in the environment they already know how to use, either the intranet or their client portal or whatever they are familiar with. We integrate that and they can access it from here directly. Of course, you could then consider a different pricing model because you register all the NDAs that your clients create, all the clicks they do and all documents they finalize. Instead of one time giving them a Word document, you could have them pay per click or pay per document that they generate. Of course, you could register that in Neota, and we could, again, with an email confirmation, confirm all that, that document, that set of documents, or the document that they generate towards the client, and optionally store it in the system as well. So this is the more traditional kind of portals, the more modern environment. I'm not sure if some of you have experience with Teams already, but what we typically see is that Teams might become the new alternative to these My portals. So we see that people engage more with their clients and with externals. And what we see is that we can integrate these Neota applications because they are web applications. We can easily integrate them in Teams. And by doing that, we could typically allow people, so instead of having to go to a portal, logging in and connecting, if you're engaging with your client and with your customer on an environment where chatting and communicating around a lot of things, you could just say, well, if you want to create a non-disclosure application, I'll just add a tab in and you can start working from here. So we can embed these Neota applications easily inside Teams. And by doing that, you could give away a free piece of legal advice, just a small piece. And at the point where they need specific advice, of course, you cannot automate everything in an app, although we sometimes like to do that. But specific knowledge is always something where you need to exchange with people. So you could encourage your client to work with you in different areas and start communicating with you inside the Teams area and either really engage and do a legal case or open up another tab for them and give them access to another Neota app inside Teams. And that basically was my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rob.